Welcome to Old City Radio, live from Yerushalayim.
David HaMelech, King David says, Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. You have to serve God with joy.
We have to be b'simcha. Shalom, Rabbi Dober. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling the strain of our people, but doing okay, thank you.
Good to hear.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So today we're going to be talking about Emunah and Hashem.
Ooh.
So during these difficult times, how do we strengthen ourselves to have more Emunah in Hashem?
Wow, great question. The question maybe, because really in times of tragedy and crisis, often people start questioning their Emunah. You know, how could Hashem do this to us? And especially at this time of year, we've just been through Elul and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Sukkot, and we've done tshuva and we purified ourselves and we're singing and dancing, and how could God do this and in such a horrible, terrible way? So people often question God and their Emunah in times of tragedy, but the truth is we shouldn't question our Emunah, we should implement our Emunah. What does that mean? Emunah only makes sense in times of crisis and tragedy, in suffering and pain. Because if we understood what was going on, if we had an answer to the question why would God do this, then we wouldn't need Emunah. Because if we knew why, then we just have das. It makes sense, we have knowledge. So Emunah, by definition, is when it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. There is no answer to the question why. It doesn't make any sense. There's no way a loving and compassionate God who loves the Jewish people and wants the best of us would ever let something like this happen. Emunah is then saying, however, there must be a reason. There has to be some reason. From my finite consciousness, I can never really grasp what that reason might be, but there is an infinitely greater consciousness where Hashem's involved in everything, and it's all moving us towards a greater revelation, the greater light. We have to go through the dark. It's actually called the birth pangs of the Mashiach. It's painful. A woman just before she gives birth looks like she's dying, really. She's in terrible pain. But out of that pain comes birth. And this is actually this month. Cheshvan is Rachel Emunah. Rachel Emunah passed away, but she passed away giving birth to Binyamin, who's the only tribe that was actually born in Eretz Yisrael. So we learn this, by the way, in this week's Parsha, from Avram. Hashem says to Avram, "Kach na et bincha," go and take up your son. And that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. He loves him. He prayed for 100 years. Hashem told him, you're going to have a great nation through this son. He's been teaching the world not to do child sacrifice. It goes against everything Avram believes, values, loves, wants. There's no ounce, no anything of making sense to this, but Avram doesn't question Hashem. He just gets up in the morning and does what he has to do. It's complete. It's called Mesiras Nefesh, by the way. It's complete giving up of what I think is meant to be.
What do we do with all of our questions? I'm just trying to live my life, and there's so many things that are we know are correct and are perfect, and there's nothing better in the world. But what do we do with all those questions? Hashem, why did that person have to rip me off today? Why did that person have to do this? Why did I have to stub my toe? Why did I have to wake up, miss my alarm? And what do we do with all these questions that pile up and build up and create a force that can sometimes take over you?
Wow, that is a great question. So the answer is we just have to change our questions. You have to change the question from why into what. Why is the most disempowering question, especially because there isn't an answer. Why did that have to happen to me? The question, and that's why the word for wisdom in Judaism is chokhmah, which is made up of two words, koach ma, the power of what is, what does Hashem want from me? What is Hashem teaching me? What is my avodah? What am I meant to do with this? But to say why me and be a victim, and there aren't usually answers to that question. If someone has a, God forbid, terrible disease or something, to say, why me? Why did I deserve this? We're not going to have those answers until the end of days, when everything will be revealed and we'll understand why. So we just have to trust that there has to be a good reason, and then ask what do I have to do? How am I how am I going to grow from this? Who do I want to be? But why is very, very disempowering.
So what do we do with all the whys, though? Because I'm trying to be the best that I could be, but I know you're not supposed to, but I
yeah,
still have
yeah.
the why sometimes.
Great. So we really
Deep down inside, I'm like, come on, come on.
Yeah. So we spoke about this 2 days ago in terms of managing your thoughts. Once you've identified the why question as not helpful, and you've identified it as disempowering, and you know that there isn't an answer to it, and it's not serving any purpose, it's not giving you any answers, and it's not making you feel better. Once you've acknowledged that, then all you have to do is, when it comes up again into your mind, you can just look at it and say, I see you. Not repressing it. Say, I see you. I'm not sure why, but I'm sure it's for the best. And this is actually how we build our Emunah. By saying to that why question, I'm not afraid of you. I just realized that in this case, I'm not going to know why, but I know it's for the best. And there's actually an even higher level, which is, I know it's because Hashem loves me and everything's for the best. Even though you don't feel it, by the way. Often it doesn't feel like Hashem loves me. I had a son born 3 months early. He was in an incubator with a respirator. I didn't feel like Hashem loved me, but it didn't change my Emunah. I realized, well, if this is happening, this is what needs to happen at the moment. And by the way, Emunah isn't complete blind faith. It's not illogical to believe that everything's for the best, because Hashem is an infinite divine consciousness, and therefore can't be lacking. And any evil is a lacking. You know, the most perfect people you know, they're not angry and jealous and horrible. So evil, by definition, is a lacking. So if God is a perfect consciousness, then God can't be lacking. And also, God can't not be involved in everything. So you have this infinite, divine, loving consciousness who's involved in everything and knows what's best for you. So it makes sense that there has to be a reason, even though my finite consciousness might not get the whole picture. I don't understand the whole picture. I often give the example of, let's say there's an alien sent down to Earth to check out what humans are like. Should we go and have like peace talks with the humans and connect to them? So the alien comes, he's invisible, and he stands in a room and he sees these men with masks on, with another guy tied to a table with a bright light in his eyes, and these men with the masks are like cutting up his chest with knives. And so he freaks out and he goes back and says humans are barbaric. And what he didn't realize is it was heart surgery. They were doing heart surgery. He didn't know what happened before. He didn't know what happened after. So in our lives, we have a very, very small snippet of the whole of reality, time-wise, not only time-wise, but past lives and future lives. And we just have no grasp of the full picture of things. So to make a conscious, rational decision about why this happened and what it means is impossible. So to be able to just accept there has to be a higher reason, better meaning behind this. Once again, not blind faith. It just makes sense, seeing as Hashem is infinite consciousness, love, and involved in everything. It makes sense, even though I can't understand. You've been listening to Mastering Life. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share it with all your friends. Let's make the world a better place.
I heard from Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach. He said, if you're ever sad, if somebody ever becomes sad, he must have forgotten that Hashem created the world.
I hear that to some extent, but you're also meant to be sad when stuff like this happens. Yeah. So you can still be sad and still remember that Hashem created the world. We actually spoke about that 2 days ago when we spoke about emotional balance. To be able to feel sad, to be able to feel pain. But yes, then go into a place where, okay, complete surrender. This is what Avram was doing. He wasn't sacrificing his son. He was as well, by the way, but he was sacrificing himself, his logic, his mind, his values, his love, his desires. He just completely self-sacrificed, and from that place reached the highest level. And in fact, that's why it was his test. Hashem says, I want you to be the father of this great nation, but you have to completely mevatel, you need to completely nullify what you think is right, and just trust that I know what I'm doing. It's like a child. When I take my daughter to have an injection, and she's 1 year old, and she's playing and she's sitting on my lap and she's playing with a toy, and suddenly a man comes and sticks a metal thing in her arm, and it's very painful. So she has this injection. I can't tell her why. She's not on the level of consciousness to understand it's good for her. So she's just crying. It's painful. It has no meaning, and I can't explain the meaning, but I know that it's good for her, and she can't grasp that. When she's a bit older, when she's 2 or 3, She still can't understand why it's okay, but she trusts me because I'm her dad, and she knows that I wouldn't let anything happen to her that isn't actually good for her, even if it's very painful. So we have to trust our father that the painful things that we're going through are taking us towards the final conclusion. Doesn't get rid of the pain, though. Gets rid of the suffering. Remember, we spoke about the difference between pain and suffering.
Yeah.
Pain is a feeling. It's painful. Suffering is why me? It's not fair. It shouldn't be like this. That's suffering. So Emunah gets rid of suffering, the mental commentary that's not helping. Doesn't get rid of the pain, and the pain is okay to feel your pain and then go and do something with it. This, by the way, this is the whole purpose of creation. It's a very, very high level. Everyone just throws out the word Emunah. Oh, Gamzu Latava, it's all for the best, and we have to have Emunah. It's actually a very, very high level of consciousness to be able to tap into that place. So it takes being real, and then surrendering and saying, okay, I know there's a higher meaning behind this.
I just thinking about somebody with complete Emunah, and when you look at, like, I'm just picturing my Rabbi, and he's someone who does not worry about anything. It's not completely at ease. He's able to live like just so everything's good, even though his life is totally crazy. He's able to just like be one with Hashem always. I've had this before where I was wondering why am I kind of going a little bit crazy, you know? I usually have it together. What's going on? And I realized with help of some friends that I'm not one with Hashem. I'm not feeling the kedusha of Shabbos, of singing and dancing and Torah. I'm not there thinking, you know, Shavisi Hashem and Negi Torah. I'm not one with Hashem, because if I was one with Hashem, there's nothing to talk about. Everything would be relaxed and calm.
Emunah is the root of all goodness. If you really had Emunah, you wouldn't be jealous, angry, hateful, afraid. You wouldn't have those emotions. You'd just be completely peaceful. But I'm sure your Rebbe also feels the pain and cries for the Jewish people.
Oh, he does.
So again, Emunah makes your life full of joy and consciousness, but it also makes you be connected to God's people and knowing that Hashem's suffering with us in this.
Now we have the unique opportunity of asking you a question that not so many people experienced, like meditation, like long-term, week-long meditation and all of that. How would you say, do you use Emunah to get to that level of calmness? How does that connect?
I think it's the other way around. You use the calmness to tap into Emunah. So I'm running an online mindfulness course at the moment, and we're really going to be speaking about going into a deeper place within yourself. Because the deeper you go within yourself, the more you connect to your soul, which is full of Emunah and full of love and connection and joy, the easier you can deal with life. All of our issues in life are very much on the surface. It's like waves on the ocean. So the waves are on the surface, but if you go under the water deep enough, then it's peaceful and calm. So too with us, all our issues and our doubts and our fears and our worries and our angst and our anxiety and our anger and our doubt. It's all on the very surface level of our psyche. But as we go deeper into ourselves through our breath, obviously we know the word for breath is neshima, connected to neshama. Deeper we go into ourselves, the calmer it becomes, and then you reveal your intrinsic Emunah. There's a few different ways to build Emunah. One is just to keep saying it. For example, Gamzu Lateva. This is all for the best. I actually heard that Hamas is Gematria Gamzu Lateva. I worked it out. It really is actually.
Wow.
So to say Gamzu Lateva, it says Nacham Ish Gamzu in the Gemara. Everything that happened, he says Gamzu Latova. I believe that at first he didn't really believe that or feel that, but he just kept saying it until he actually started integrating it. What we repeat to ourselves, that starts becoming our reality for the good or the bad. So if someone grows up saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, that's going to become their reality. They're going to form that belief that they're not good enough. If we start saying more naturally, this is for the best, even though I can't understand why, Gamzu Latova, we're actually training our whole system to tap into a place of Emunah. So that's one way to train Emunah. But the other one is to reveal Emunah. This goes with all our traits. Loving Hashem, we can love Hashem through hitbaninut, contemplating all the amazing things that Hashem does. Or we could just reveal our intrinsic state of love for Hashem. Yira we can come with Kach Dimyan, imagining standing in front of the King of Kings. That will bring us to Yira. Or we can reveal our natural state of Yira within our soul through meditating and breathing.
I hope that one day you could teach me how to meditate properly.
There's a litmindfulness.org. There's a little plug.
Thank you so much, Rabbi, for joining us.
Pleasure. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Remember, this isn't just information. There's tools and practical wisdom to completely transform your life. Please donate now and do your part in the war effort. And let's get this situation over and done with as soon as we can.